Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining the webinar and getting the most out of the Development Data Library. The Development Data Library, or DDL, is the platform for USAID-funded machine-readable data. My name is Morgan Daniels, and I am the Senior Curator for the Data Services team in MCIO. I work on digital repository management, including the DDL and the Development Experience Clearinghouse. In today's webinar, members of the team providing the software that runs the DDL will present advanced features for users, ways to really make the most of the platform. We are recording this session, so it will be available to agency staff who are not able to join us today. Feel free to ask questions to the chat box as the webinar progresses. We'll address them at the end of the session. We'll keep participants muted throughout the webinar to avoid background noise. And with that, I'll turn things over to Jason Glassner from Socrata, the software vendor behind the DDL.
Thank you, Morgan. I really appreciate this opportunity to come out here and to talk about the DDL with everyone. Again, my name is Jason Glassner. I'm the Federal Client Success Manager with Socrata. Like I said, thank you all for coming out. I just want to do a brief introduction, then I'm going to hand it off to Elliot to show you the DDL and show you Socrata. I always like to think of Socrata in three ways. First of all, the ability to bring data into the system, and you all have a robust way of doing that, so we really won't spend a lot of time focusing on that. The second part is once the data is in the system, the suite of visualizations and analysis tools that we provide that allow you to do analysis with the data. And then once you've done that analysis, the third part is the ability to share that data with others. And so what I'd like you all to think about as we move forward with this, it's a good buzzword is the art of the possible. We'll show you the features, but we'll also show you what others have done with it and what you can do with it. And so that's the real key takeaway of this webinar is the art of the possible. And with that, I will hand it off to Elliot to show the DDL.
Thanks, Jason. Hi, everyone. Thank you all for joining this webinar. My name is Elliot Flott, and I am the Director of Solutions Engineering at Socrata. And I will be walking through a lot of the technical features and more of the technical possibilities of our platform. And I'm looking forward to answering a lot of the Q&A later on during this talk. So a little bit of an agenda as to what I'll be covering. As you can see here, we are on the landing page of the USAID Development Data Library, or DDL. I'll be walking through a little bit of what is found on this page and where we can navigate to from here. From there, we'll be talking a little bit about data submission, and as Jason mentioned, you all have a very complex process for that, so we'll just speak to that at a high level. From there, we'll be getting into a little bit of the focus areas that we would like to talk about for this webinar, and those will be really related to APIs, visualizations that can be done on top of data that's found within the DDL, and then talking about adding context to some of the stories that can be done through a part of our platform called Perspectives. From there, we'll also do a little bit of navigation on the portal so that you can really understand how to search for data and find the assets that you're looking for on the platform. So without further ado, let's dive into the DDL. What we're looking at is a website that is hosted by Socrata, and really we're able to see a lot of the different themes that are present within the data development data library. And those will be things related to things like democracy, human rights and governance, economic growth, peace and security. And these are all separate categories that can be used to filter data, and I'll show you what it looks like to get some results matching a lot of these different areas. Also, there are some featured data sets that USAID likes to highlight on the main homepage. Those will be things related to USAID construction assessments, things like Feed the Future in Bangladesh. And finally, diving into things like anti-corruption projects database that will be really interesting to show some visualizations on later on during this webinar. So first off, if I want to find everything related to democracy and human rights and governance, I'll just be able to click into this and find all of the results matching this, this category. As you can see, we're able to find some categories on the side that relate to the themes and areas on the homepage. So I can start to use these to filter the main catalog that has a number of results that are found within the USAID organization. But as I navigate back to the home screen, and I want to look at some of the featured data sets, I'll be able to click into the Anti-Corruptions Project database and also find that particular asset. So I'll get a lot of information related to what is found in this data asset, who is responsible for updating it, some of the basic usage statistics around how many views and downloads have been done to access this database, and then also the freshness of this data set, so when it was last updated. It's really going to provide me a lot of different information on here related to all these different metadata features down here. And then as I drill into the actual Corruptions Project database itself, this is going to provide me the opportunity to go in and start to interact with this data in a variety of different ways that we'll be focusing on at a pretty high level. So I'm going to be moving from this website to a test domain or a demo domain that I have set up for this webinar. And it's going to show you something pretty familiar. It'll start to show, just a USAID data set and how I can go about interacting with it in a variety of different ways. So like I said, I'm the dataset owner. You'll be able to come in and contact me here. But also what we'll be able to do is see exactly what is in this data set. What kind of columns and rows are found within here? What kind of data types I might be dealing with? Now, I won't be diving into how to submit the data. That is something that would be best done by speaking with the USAID team. But really, once it's on the platform, there's a variety of different ways that we can interact with this data. So that can be just by viewing the data. If I want to go in and actually start to look at this data in tabular format, this is something that will be pretty easy for me to go in and start to interact with this data in a tabular format like I see here. So this is the raw data that we have on our platform. Now going back to the higher level, there's also ways in which I can interact with this data that are going to be really helpful for creating visualizations. So let's actually go in and start to create a visualization on top of this data. So within just one click, what I'm going to be able to do is start to experiment and explore with this data. So if I want to go in and start to select a certain column that I want to see, let's say something like award value. That would be interesting to examine. I can go in and start to see the award values that we have here, but it doesn't really look like I'm going to be able to visualize this pretty easily. So if I want to start to see maybe where these are going. So if I want to look at country, that might be a better way to slice and dice this. I can see the top number of countries where these projects are happening, and then start to filter these measures by, award value that we have here. So it might be good to sum these, and it might be good to actually start to drill into some of the more basic statistical functions like averaging this data out. So I start to see a little bit of a different picture of that data. So instead of Afghanistan being at the top of that list, it's now moved to the third, and I can start to do some basic analysis of this data and really go in to start to see how I would like to display these visuals. Now, bar charts, pie charts, and line graphs are going to be an easy way to interact with this data, but there's other ways that we can do filtering of this data and analysis of this data on the platform. And that can be done through things like georeferencing. So if I want to start to look at where all of these different projects are happening, I can start to do that as well. And the platform is going to suggest to me how I might go about doing that and start to display this information on a map. So from here, I'll be able to start to examine this geospatially, because this is probably another way in which I can display this information in a more interesting way than rather just interacting with it in the standard bar charts, column charts, or pie chart types. So it's going to be things I can start to do other types of aggregations related to this data. Start to look at this in a heat map format. If we start to look at where we have some spots of concentration of activity for USAID, this will be a way in which I can go about doing this, and then I can go in and save this visualization for future reference. Once I have this ready to go, it'll be something I can go in and pretty quickly save this visualization. Now, other ways in which that I can interact with this data is through our APIs. So if I go back to the source data, one of the other things that will be pretty readily apparent is that I have the ability not just to visualize and export this data in the different formats that I want to use. I also have the ability to interact with this data via API. So if I click into this pane here, I'll be taken directly to the API documentation that's going to allow me to interact with this data in a machine-readable format, which can be found here. So not only am I going to be able to go in and start to look at how I can return back some JSON values of data that's found on our platform using our APIs, there's also going to be ways in which I can experiment with interacting with this data, just through simple filtering, or even just by returning a quick sample call here by quickly and simply filtering, and then showing what the return is going to be from this data asset. So here we go. We have the ability to start to maybe facilitate some application development if I want to use our APIs to build out some more complex interactions using things like our JSON endpoints. Now, as we go down further as part of this documentation, I'm going to be able to interact with this data in a variety of different programming languages. So it's not just limited to things like JSON to get some jQuery. It's also going to be able to get me this information to facilitate interaction with Python or R. As you notice, we also have Sass and Stata code snippets that will allow me to bring this data into my platform pretty easily. So this is just a variety of different ways that we can interact with this data that is not just limited to downloading the data and using it in, say, a Microsoft Excel. All of these different API documentations are going to be found at every single data asset. So that means that you'll get the unique API documentation for every single data asset that is on our platform. Now, one of the other parts that I wanted to walk through with you all that will highlight the art of the possible on the platform is looking at things like perspectives. So there are a few examples that I wanted to show you that other of our clients have gone in and created for themselves. And those are two examples, one at NOAA, NOAA Fisheries, as well as with USDA Agricultural Management Service. Now this is, again, part of our Socrata platform, and they're able to provide a lot more context around the research and the data that they are putting out to the public. So you'll be able to bring in a variety of dynamic content related to maps, like you saw me create earlier, and also videos, images that can be brought on the platform as well, and then narrative content that are going to be able to help support some of this analysis too. So it can be things related to pup counts for the younger members of the seal population, and then also providing links out to explore this data if the members of the public, researchers, or really anyone who has access to this website can go in and start to explore this data pretty quickly. One of the other interesting examples that I've seen from our clients is diving into how they're using this to show trends over time. So the United States Department of Agricultural Marketing Service has actually gone in and done some of the very same things that you've seen at NOAA. They're starting to provide context around this data related to things like weighted average truck rates and why these are important, talking about where there might be areas of activity or hotspots that you might see, and then also drilling into the data there so that you can start to interact with this data pretty quickly. And all the while, you're going to be providing access to the source data that you can see here so that folks can navigate back directly to a lot of these source data elements, these data assets, to be able to conduct their own analysis if they want to, and be able to interact directly with that data in the tool of their choice if they would like to. So I'll move back to another component, which is actually interacting with the USAID catalog, as you saw me do pretty quickly at the start of this. So first off, what I'm able to do is actually start to interact with the data catalog that is provided by USAID in order to go in and start to filter by certain Google-like search words that is going to provide me with search terminology here. So if I want to start to find everything related to the Feed the Future program, I can just start typing this in plain text, and it will start to return a lot of the different elements that I might want to interact with. So pretty quickly, it's going to find everything related to Feed the Future, and then allow me to go in and actually start to interact with all of these different data elements as well. And once I have these ready to go, I can start to go in and see all of the different metadata elements that are found here so that we can start to see a lot of these different data field, data elements, and all of the different, in this case, survey responses that have been received related to the collection of data on this program. And will be brought back to a variety of different interaction methodologies, like creating visualization, like you saw me do earlier, and then also some of the other ways that we can either export this data in different formats, as well as interact with the data through the API. So with that, I wanted to turn it back over to you all to be able to provide some questions and answers so that we can interact with folks that way.
Thanks, Jason and Elliot. Elliot, that was a great walkthrough of the DDL. We've gotten some questions and prepared some answers in response to them. The first question was, currently USAID staff have to have an account through the Geo Center to access ArcGIS. How is this different through the DDL? And our response is that while the DDL uses ArcGIS for its in-platform mapping functionality, it does not integrate with USAID ArcGIS account subscriptions. This kind of integration would be possible only for public ArcGIS instances. A second question was, being new to this technology, could you explain in plain terms what this technology does and what it is most frequently used for? Our response is the DDL is the platform for USAID data publication. It contains a great deal of microdata from USAID projects, and it is used to access the data that supports international development goals. The third question, what's the best way to experiment with the platform to learn its capabilities? We recommend browsing data available on the DDL and trying out different data visualizations that explore the kinds of analysis that are interesting to you. Under the DDL's help menu, you'll find a detailed user guide and a set of video tutorials walking you through platform capabilities. Our last question was, how or is this system part of the DIS? The DDL is an important part of the Development Information Solution, or DIS, and as the DIS system grows, it will include the capability to pass data between the DIS and DDL, making the two systems talk to each other to improve access to information. And we've included a link to DIS there. Thanks everyone for joining us today. Please feel free to get in touch with us if you have any questions about using the DDL, and please visit the DDL at data.usaid.gov. Have a great day.